Okay, welcome everyone to today's session, looking at how to become a visible role model on the LGBT Great platform. I'm delighted to be with you today. My name's Alex, my pronouns are he, him, and I'm the Global Insights and Content Manager here at LGBT Great, responsible for the data insights and training work that we do. And I'm delighted to be joined by Lauren Cahill, who's I work with at LGBT Great, and Lauren, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining. I'm Lauren Cahill. I'm the Member Operations Lead and Project Manager here at LGBT Great.
Amazing. So today we wanted to spend a bit of time thinking about role modeling. For those of you that know us, we have a range of role modeling programs that we carry out with the financial services industry, spotlighting great LGBT folks and allies who are changing the game, kickstarting the conversation and maintaining momentum around LGBT plus DE&I. But first, we'd like to just, for those that don't know us, share a little bit about the work we do, and then about some of our role modeling programs, including Project 1000, which is probably most relevant to everyone on the call today. And then beyond that, beyond some of the operational elements, and we will be talking about how to become a member of this program, the Project 1000 program, we wanted to share with you some of our thoughts on why role models and visibility are important. What is the function of a role model? And so we've got a few interesting insights around the kind of behavioral psychology of role modeling that I just thought would be interesting to share with you. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about how can you be a successful, how can you build a successful profile on our platform. A couple of housekeeping things. This session is being recorded and will be made available on our YouTube channel. And then I believe we're able to share the slides with those that were able to join today. I've dropped the link in the chat, and as has Lauren, to the application for Project 1000. So if you would like to get that started now, then feel free. You have a comment box and a chat and a Q&A function at the bottom of your screens. I know some organizations don't enable this, but if this is something that you're able to access, then please do feel free to drop any comments or questions to us as we go along today, and we will endeavour to answer them as they come in, rather than answering them at the end in a dedicated Q&A. So if you've got something you want to share, just pop it in the chat, pop it in a question. Questions can be both anonymous, or they can be assigned to your name. So just let us do what's best for you. This is kind of what we wanted to cover today, and yeah, so today it's all about role modeling and all about visibility. For those that know us and are working with us, forgive us, but we will just cover briefly what it is we do. For those that don't know us, LGBT Great is a platform and a member organization for financial services firms, with the core goal of making financial services the destination of choice for current and future talent. Strategically, this manifests in 3 pillars: enhanced insights, which is where I lead. So data, we have our benchmarking tool for the industry, thought leadership and white papers, and then kind of training and awareness as well. So someone's just said, the host has disabled attendee chat. Okay, let me see if I can. Lauren, would you be able to have a look to see if you can change that for me while I keep going? Thank you. For the moment, then it looks like Q&A is the best for any comments. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, the second pillar of ours is visibility, and is obviously most relevant for today, where we're focused very much on improving the visibility of LGBT folks and allies throughout the industry. This can be internal and external, so we support on a range of comms initiatives. We support with branding and enhancements there. And then finally, we have a range of role modeling programs where we're spotlighting the work, the stories of LGBT folks and allies. Finally, we have our outreach pillar, which is all about engagement, with the community. This is through mentoring, so empowering senior people to connect with LGBT folks throughout the business, and to empower young talent to succeed by connecting them with senior influencers and executives throughout the industry as well. We have a range of events. Unfortunately, we are a small team based in London, so this in-person event does tend to happen in London, but we're we are pushing for more hybrid events off the back of COVID as well. And finally, we have a community that we're engaging with regularly. So if any of that interests you and you want to get in touch to find out a bit more, then please do feel free to reach out. My email address is just alex@lgbtgreat.com. And yeah, that's a little bit about us. But the conversation today really centers on role models. And at this point in the conversation, and as we introduce this idea, I wanted to reflect on what does it actually mean to be a role model. And we found kind of 3 key ways to talk about this. So role models show us how to perform a skill and achieve a goal. They influence, so they're influencing the way we act, the way we think. They represent what's possible. So we'll talk a little bit about this later, but they set the roadmap for us in terms of what we can achieve, obviously leveraging some of those behaviors that they reflect to us. And then finally, they are inspirational. So they inspire us, they keep us going, they give us energy. So, role models are critical in both actualizing the possible, but being reflective of what's real, in a particular environment or within a particular context. With that in mind, keeping this idea of role models being inspirational, role models being all about behavior, role models being the possibility, LGBT Great has a number of strategic role modeling initiatives that we are engaged upon within the industry. And the main one is Project 1000, which was a bold goal of ours in 2019 to spotlight the stories and work of 1,000 LGBT plus and allies across financial services, looking at what it is they're doing, why they are amazing, what it is that they are doing to drive the conversation forward, to encourage and engender positive action throughout the business, and to the ways in which they're leveraging their power, status and privilege to provide opportunities of allyship, to provide opportunities for other people to speak, and for acknowledgement of underrepresented groups throughout the businesses. Great, chat should now be working for all attendees, so that should be good. So if you have any things you want to share with us, please do let us know. And I suppose the question, okay, thank you, Kelly, great, thank you for testing that out for us. I suppose one of the questions that we had as well was, why is it important to have role models? Why is it important to have visible people who are like you or not like you, but that are championing a particular goal or something that you identify? Why is that important? And we did a survey in 2021, and we found that 92% of LGBT colleagues want support, visible support from executives and allies, and role models are a critical way of doing that, right? Only 44% of people we surveyed felt comfortable being out to clients and investors. So, if you don't feel comfortable and then you see a senior leader who is out or who's a vocal ally, suddenly then the psychological safety you feel at work is, increased. You feel like you're able to bring more of yourself to work because you've seen that someone has been able to do that, or is championing your voice and is still able to succeed, is still able to be senior, and sets that roadmap of where you could be in the future, right? So it's all about building psychological safety. It's about reflecting back into the business the values that you hold, and finally, over 80% of young people look for visible demonstration of diversity. So, visibility, this idea of role modeling, is so critical to encouraging younger, talent, the next generation of talent to enter the industry, but also to stay within the industry. So, across all the different dimensions of the business, from senior leaders down to the kind of grassroots interns, visibility is really important. Role models are really important. And so our goal through various ways has been to spotlight those stories. Project 1000 is kind of the global one, the industry-wide, any level, no prerequisites to being a Project 1000 role model beyond just doing something that really empowers others, that demonstrates that you are working to improve LGBT plus or general DE&I in your organization. We also have some more specific role modeling programs. The Top 100 Game Changers was our Pride 2022 program, spotlighting 100 LGBT folks across the industry that are really changing the game, that are blazing a trail through the way that they're interacting with their clients, investors, and customers, through the way in which they are driving positive change through LGBT networks, and the kind of senior people that are really changing the game at the top and cascading that down throughout the business. So that's kind of what our goal is from a kind of strategic LGBT Great point of view. So role models are important. LGBT Great is doing a load of different things around role modeling. And I suppose the big question for me was, well, how do role models, positively impact the psychological safety of people within the business? And we found, behavioral psychology talks about 5 different ways in which role models are effective empowering people. The first is through this idea of vicarious reinforcement, which is that, through seeing and experiencing the things that other people do, you then get a sense of how you should act, the knowledge that you acquire from that. So, putting yourself in someone else's shoes, seeing how they respond to certain situations, then that gives you knowledge, that gives you experience, and enables you to then implement that in different contexts. As well as kind of seeing and experiencing, there is this idea of, seeing a very clear expression of a mode of behavior or, particular conduct in certain instances, environments, contexts. And so the way that people act, the language choices they use, how they navigate some of those relationships as a, if you have someone who's senior and is a role model and is doing that, then they can set the tone for you. And of course, this is not always an easy thing to do, but it is useful to have those boundaries kind of set. And expectation and boundary setting is another area in which role models can be really helpful, because they can set the tone for how, the moderated pathway in the middle. They can also set the tone for what it means to be on the extreme. And it's important, to acknowledge that there are preferred modes of behavior, etc., in different environments. There are things that are seen as extreme in different contexts, and there are things that are seen as, very moderated in others. And so having role models to set those boundaries for you is really helpful in navigating some of the more complex political spaces in an organization, but also just more generally in business as well. I mentioned allyship a little bit earlier, but behavioral allyship is really important as role models as well. So that there is a kind of passive element to role modeling. You just watch and learn from what they do, how they speak, how they interact, but also this idea of role models being able to action certain things to drive positive change is really important. So seeing role models praise and support others in the community is an expression of allyship, really. And we know that allies have a positive impact on different communities that they are supporting. So, role models have the opportunity for additional allyship, and is something that can really be important. Finally, it's about outcome. So it's about seeing what do those, approaches in certain contexts, what are those modes of behavior, what is that allyship, what are those boundaries, what do they all mean? And all of that is about outcomes. So you see concretely how this manifests in the business, what the impact is of working in that way or engaging in that way. So as well as setting the tone, setting the boundaries, and giving a sense of how to navigate those spaces, you also see what happens when you do that. And so having role models who are successful, who are like you, enables you to say, I could do that. I could be like that. And I think that's really important. I think back to some of the role models I've had over the years, and it has been around learning from them, but it's also about seeing them succeed and thinking, I could do that too. And so the reason that Project 1000 is important is because some of these stories, people who's joined today, your stories, the work that you're doing, we want to make that visible. We want to catapult you to visibility from a role modeling point of view, so that people can learn from you, so that people can identify with you, so that people can see your successes and feel that they could be theirs. So, role modeling for us is all about bringing people together. It's about this communication. It's about positive allyship. And ultimately, it's about seeing those positive outcomes, whether they be for increased conversation, whether they be for navigating complex spaces, or whether they be seeing someone just absolutely crush it in a particular job. So yeah, so ultimately role modeling is critical in boosting some of the psychological safety people feel at work. And we know that psychological safety has a direct and positive impact on productivity. And we know that productivity has a direct and positive impact on the bottom line. So, without wanting to be too convoluted, I think, you can see the impact in the business of positive role models and visibility programs, not just in the human element, but also in the bottom line. So a few thoughts from my side just around why this conversation is important. Now, for those of you that are interested, and I hope that it's everyone, we want to spotlight your story. We want to get you visible. We want to start helping you to engage with the role models that are currently in our network and with our member organizations as well. And so one of the ways that we can do that is by getting you up and running as a Project 1000 role model and making you visible on our platform, which is a new piece of technology we've implemented this year. This slide just is a short overview of what that looks like. For those that are unfamiliar, it's a bit like a LinkedIn really, but it does enable us to host everything centrally, to have this opportunity for intercompany engagement, and it empowers you to be in the driving seat for managing this. So if you go to memberships, you can then basically apply for Project 1000, and this will require the submission of a corporate bio or a headshot, and then a quote as well from you that we can then put on our website and that can go on the platform. And the reason that it's a good thing for you to do this, it enables you to build your network, to engage directly with other role models, other members of the LGBT great community, and essentially is a centralized place for these conversations to occur. So really simple to use from an interface point of view, and very simple to apply to as well. As well as having that kind of dashboard element, like LinkedIn, where you see your news feed, you see the updates from our side, you can submit updates yourself, you can post. There are also dedicated communities, and Project 1000 will have its own community, which where all Project 1000 role models are able to come together to share best practice, to talk to each other. And so, from a networking and community building point of view, we see this as a great opportunity to get involved with different organizations, with different people across different locations, because this is a global program. And so, ultimately it allows us to really start to build a community. A note on the communities, we do have a set of community guidelines that we would ask all, anyone on our platform to adhere to. And so, LGBT Great does retain this kind of admin element to the communities. So we want to make sure that they are really safe space for conversation and for best practice sharing, etc. So yeah, super easy to apply to, super easy to use, and hopefully, a safe and enjoyable environment to have conversations as well. So that's just a little bit on that. Okay, so thank you, Lauren. Lauren has just posted a summary of what we need in that. And so once you've done all of that, once you've applied to be an LGBT Great Project 1000 role model, you've got on board online on the platform. There are a few things, overall that we would ask from you for this program. The first is that you provide your permission to be visible. We think it's really important that our Project 1000 role models are visible and we can able. Oh yes, for those that cannot access the chat, we will send a link to the platform after the call as well. Thank you for that question that's just come through. Being visible on our platform and on our website, we think is really important. So that is included in the kind of expectation for applying. Prepare a short bio along with a quote and a photo. We will support you in this. So if you haven't got a bio to hand, or you would like to update your bio, then LGBT Great is very happy to help you with that. I'll come on to structuring that bio. We offer the opportunity to participate in relevant LGBT events and training. One of the Project 1000 role model perks is that we will invite you to be on a panel maybe, or it gives us the opportunity to engage with you on a more regular basis as well, because there is that kind of ongoing touch point. We also hope that this will be a good opportunity for you to leverage this visibility to empower the networks in your own businesses, in your teams. And so LGBT Great is also happy to support Project 1000 role models in the work that they're doing to empower LGBT folks and allies internally as well. And then finally, there is a kind of hope that you will then amplify some of the content that we're producing, and likewise we can also help just amplify any content that you're producing as well. So I would hope that it's a bit of bilateral exchange here, and that we can empower each other to succeed with this overarching goal of making more people more visible to spotlight LGBT folks and allies, their stories and what's working. A brief note just on structuring a success, an effective Project 1000 bio. I'm sure everyone on the call has written a million corporate bios in their time. We found that there's kind of 4 elements to a great bio that works and is concise. A little intro, career background, current role, education, the standard one-liner. Then how did I get to where I am today? What was it that enabled me to succeed? And then finally, what are your hobbies and interests in this section? So beyond just talking about the role that you currently have and which clients are responsible for, we also want to make sure that there's a real human element here, and that Project 1000 role models are not just a part of the corporate machine, but they're real people doing real work and empowering others. Finally, one of the things we're really interested in is to understand how you have improved diversity, equity, and inclusion work around you, whether that's at an organizational level, whether that's at a team level, or whether that's externally with charities or support that you're giving to networks or organizations externally. And then finally is a quote just from you that we could then use on our website about why are you proud to work for who you work for, and why are you proud to be a Project 1000 role model. Taken together, we feel that this gives a really nice sense of who someone is, the work that they're doing, and kind of why it's important to spotlight your story in particular. Looking at the Project 1000 role model bios that we have currently, I think there's some really powerful statements in there. There's some really powerful examples, and so I would see this as a kind of mini storytelling exercise, and LGBT Great is delighted to support you on that as well. I'll pause just for a moment in case there are any questions or thoughts or comments from anyone. Lauren, I just come to you if there's anything you'd like to add.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know that we've got some current role models on the line, so hopefully this can help them, think about how they can structure their own bios currently. And the new platform that we have in place is fully integrated with our website. So if there's any changes that anybody wants to do that are current role models, or once you're registered and on the system, you can make changes to your bio and your photo as you go. You don't need to sort of wait for an approval. It's all integrated, so you'll make the change on the back end and then it will populate through to the website automatically.
Yeah, great. That's a really good point actually on mentioned earlier, trying to empower you to be in the driving seat here. So any changes you make on the platform will automatically be reflected across the other aspects of LGBT Great's website, etc. We've had a question that's come through. Is it mandatory to be from the LGBTQ community to be a role model? Absolutely not. Obviously, one of our goals is to spotlight LGBT folks that are really, typically underrepresented in certain environments, certain geographies, but that are doing amazing work. But we also want to empower. Yeah, no, that's fine, Sarah. No worries. I think it was clearly on different people's minds at the same time. But yes, no, we're very much interested in spotlighting the work of allies as well. In fact, I think it's in some instances even more important to spotlight the work of allies, because in many instances, allies will be will have access to spaces, will have access to people that sometimes people in the LGBT community do not have. So when I talk about allyship, sometimes we talk about leveraging power, status, and privilege in certain contexts to empower other people in different communities to succeed. Matt, yes, absolutely. So one of the great things about this is that once you've submitted it on the platform, you can go in at any time and update it yourself. We're happy to support you with that. But essentially, you can have full access. You can change your, if you change organizations as well, you can basically just update that. So it's entirely in your hands. We can also support where necessary, but it's on you, which is good, because it means that it takes away the need for and the reliance on email, because I think we all agree that we get too many emails, and if you can do it in 3 seconds, then that just saves us an hour of going back and forth over multiple days. So yes, to summarize, short bio, quote, bit of context on who you are, where you've come from, why LGBT or DE&I in general is important to you. You don't have to be part of the community. You can be an ally. You can be at any level of the business, from CEO down to intern. The only requirement is that you're able to kind of answer those questions on what motivates you to support LGBT plus DE&I, what have you done to get involved in that, and kind of, you know, why you're proud to work for your current employer. So yeah, I think that's kind of the main questions that I wanted to, well, not questions, but the main points I wanted to share with you. The next steps are to apply if you would like to. You can also get in touch if you have any more questions or concerns. Provide then a profile, so that will include your photo or headshot, the short bio as mentioned, and that quote. Then LGBT Great will review and approve. Or well, yeah, in most cases we would approve, but you know, it's good to have that check and balance in place. And then once you have been approved as a role model, you'll have full access to the platform. You can get involved and get engaging with other role models and with us on different projects. And you know, that's kind of it really. It's not this, we don't want this to be rocket science, this program. We want it to be easily accessible and you know, hopefully a real feather in your cap, both in the business but also enjoyable to connect with others as well. And so there's a little quote at the another quote, a question: is this limited to no, it's global, completely global. So yeah, although we are based in London, LGBT Great is a global organisation with global member firms. So we welcome applications from everywhere. And once approved, oh yes, thank you, Lauren. Lauren's just noted that once approved, you will receive a link to register to the platform as well. So it kind of all then is in one place. So yeah, that's it really. So kind of a quick session today on things, but I will pause now in case there are any questions or comments or thoughts. Oh, we've got one here, Sarah. Is it okay to have a couple from the same company? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there is no kind of limit on this. What we want is to spotlight the people, not just you know, one per organization. It is, you know, the more the merrier. Exactly. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, I completely agree, the more the merrier. Paul, do you have any visual assets we can use on social media to promote our involvement? Yes, we do. So one of the benefits of joining the program is that you have the kind of full backing of us. We have a set of internal and externally facing kind of social assets and broader collaterals that you can use to amplify the program. And if there is something specific you need, for example, working with an LGBT network in an organization, we can also work with you on that as well. We have a range of options there. So we just had a question that's come through. Can the last slide, does the last slide have all of the information? Yes, it is. It's all on our website. So if you go to lgbtgreat.com, there is a tab with role models, and you can then see a bit more information on all of our current role models, our different role modeling programs, and you can apply straight from there as well. So thank you, Lauren. The link that Lauren has just shared. For those that can't access the chat, we will follow up with an email that has a link to the recording and those links. So you might have to wait a little bit longer, but it is just lgbtgreat.com/role models and allies with a dash in between the words. But yeah, so I think that kind of covers all the questions that we've had come through. I will just have one final note on governance in that, you know, we have got a community guidelines, and then from a GDPR point of view, it is a voluntary engagement, and we do have a robust compliance framework that underpins this, which includes GDPR compliance, and then there are the privacy and use agreement policies for the platform as well. So that is all covered. So you know, hopefully there should be no barriers to entry for this. And I think that's it from me. Lauren, is there anything else from your side?
No, I think you've covered it all there, Alex. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, if there are no other questions, then I just wish you all a great rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you all on the platform very shortly. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.